if you're new to our channel, I'm Sarah. My husband Matt and I run a laser engraving business from our home, which has allowed us to live the homesteading lifestyle. Today I am going to be sharing with you a bonus video. We typically are putting out videos right now Monday through Friday, and today is a bonus video for the weekend about bonus plants. So we've had a few plants that have just popped up that we never planted. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about different plants and how we're utilizing them, even though we never planted them. So right in our wood chip area, this is actually right where our rhubarb is planted. We noticed the other day a plant sitting here, and it looked awfully familiar. We were taking a look at it and it looks identical to our tomatillos we planted in the garden. But the funny thing is, we've had this plant pop up here before. We hadn't thought anything of it because we had never planted tomatillos. We weren't familiar with what they looked like. And now that I'm looking at it, it looks similar to our tomatillos, but not exact. So I looked it up using an app on my phone, which I'm not going to trust it 100%. So I did consult with some people around here, and I'm waiting to hear back to see what they think of it. But we think it's a ground cherry plant. Now, if you've been watching our videos for a while, you know that when I was planting our garden this year, I wanted to add a new fruit. And every year we add a new fruit item. One year it was some trees, one year it was strawberries, one year it was raspberries, and I was just so excited to add the new fruit this year. And when the budget came down to it, I wasn't going to be able to add a fruit tree, or I wasn't going to be able to add something extravagant as that. And to me, watermelon, melons just aren't as exciting. They don't come back, right? So what I really wanted to plant was ground cherries. And if you're not familiar with ground cherries, they look a lot like a tomatillo, and they fall to the ground when they are ready to eat. And they're supposed to taste a little sweet and sour. And so I'm wondering if, God was just like looking out for me and was like, hey, you need some ground cherries, and has just kind of put these around our house, because this isn't the only spot they are. We have about 3 more plants which happen to be up by our beehives. So I might be able to get a quick shot of them up there, but I probably won't go too close because I don't have a bee suit on and I don't really feel like going too close to the bees. So I'm excited that maybe we're gonna have some ground cherries this year, maybe some tomatillos. I am waiting to hear back to be sure that's what we've got here before we go ahead and taste it. And if it is something of the tomatillo variety, it's not actually ripe yet. So I'm really excited for that. It's kind of cool to see. So I did get confirmation from a local Minnesota gardening expert that this in fact is a native ground cherry plant called a clammy ground cherry, and was encouraged to actually go ahead and try it when it is ripe. I was told that it will not be ripe until it is yellow. This kind of green covering turns yellow, and they said not necessarily to wait till it falls to the ground, but if it's yellow, it will be ripe to eat, and it's dangerous if eaten in large quantities before it's ripe. And in fact has actually been known to bother cattle who've eaten too much of it. They said likely that the seed had come from local critters such as pheasants, turkeys, or a mouse even. So I was really excited to have confirmation about what this is, and we will definitely be trying it when it's ready. In fact, the ones up by the beehive are now up to about a dozen plants. We were encouraged that it was a great way to try a ground cherry and see if we liked the plant itself, the taste of it. They said it won't be quite as sweet and delicious as more of a cultivated variety like the pineapple ground cherry, but it's a good idea of what they taste like for us. And they said if you like it, feel free to collect the seeds and replant where you'd like it. So another bonus plant, or plant that just kind of came up on its own that I wanted to share with you, is wild grapes. We have used wild grapes in the past to make grape juice, It was kind of tedious and a lot of work, but what I really like wild grapes for is for their leaves. These ones popped up right on the edge of our garden. We have them around our whole garden and even some on the side of our house. So I use these to make my pickles. Wild grape leaves have tannins in them that help keep pickles crunchy. So I just look for some big ones. These are actually quite small, so I'd have to use a couple probably per jar. But ones that don't have any bug damage or any bugs living on them, I wash them really good and I put them right in the jar when I'm making pickles, and it helps make them crunchy without adding any extra chemicals. This is the area I've been harvesting most of my grape leaves from. They've been growing up the side of this sumac tree, I believe it is. Another bonus or volunteer plant that we had come up is this dill in our garden. It's actually right along our line of peppers. So we did have dill planted around this area last year, and so it just kind of reseeded itself. And here in Minnesota, you wouldn't think it would come back up, but it did. It's kind of exciting because it's got our first seeds on it, because none of our other dill has even popped up yet. Another great bonus plant we had going this year were the wild black raspberries. They grow all along our yard, pretty much from the very front to the very back, and the kids really enjoyed picking them this year and getting quite a harvest off of them. We did not have enough to freeze or save. We ate them all, but I'm glad they enjoyed them while they were here. It just kind of brings me to another point of being able to forage. There are so many things you can forage for if you just know what you're looking for. A lot of that is just kind of having done it before. When I was a little girl, we used to always go mushroom hunting, which is looking for morel mushrooms, and those are the mushrooms that I could identify, and I still could if I saw them. I would definitely pick one and wash it and fry it up and eat it. My friend Cathy actually just put out a video that I found fascinating, and it was about pineapple weed, and I had never actually heard of it before. And then as soon as she showed what it looked like, I was like, oh, I've definitely seen that. I've seen that all the time, and I had no idea it was something that I could utilize in a way. I believe she said the greens you could eat, and then the flowers she was saving to make teas and things. So it's just really cool what you can forage for if you know what you're looking for. So if you have a friend or family member who knows one or two of those things, have them teach you. Just the other day, my grandpa was telling me about how he used to pick pin cherries when he was a little boy. And then we were on vacation, and my daughter had eaten a berry off a tree. I have told her many times not to do this without asking us first. And I didn't know what it was, and I pulled out the app on my phone again. I don't trust that 100%, but it said they were pin cherries. And it just made me smile, thinking, oh, I bet this is what Grandpa had been looking for. And it was kind of like, it was a bush, but it was just full of these berries. And I'm like, are these something we could be eating and we just don't even know it? It's just interesting. The last bonus plant I have to tell you about is kind of funny. So on two sides of us, we are completely surrounded by farmland. So this year, the farmer planted soybeans. And over here, soybeans. And he rotates his crops. So soybeans this year means next year corn. Now, that isn't to say that maybe occasionally some corn gets left behind by animals or stuck in the equipment when he's planting his soybeans. In his field here, you'll notice every once in a while there's a couple corn plants that just popped up. I don't know if you can actually tell, but there are actually ears of corn on some of the plants. And it was just the funniest thing, because Matt and I were outside weeding one day, and we looked over and I'm like, Matt, this weed looks a little thicker than grass. And sure enough, growing right where our flowers grow were two stalks of corn. I don't know how they got here, if an animal dropped a piece of corn, if one of the corn cobs blew over here last year. I have no idea how it got here, but we just left it because, I mean, mean, the worst thing that could happen is we end up with a couple cobs of corn that we never planned on. Even if it just goes to the animals' leaves too. I mean, it's just cool what comes up and just kind of those bonus plants that you never were expecting. I can tell you, I did not expect corn to magically start growing in our front yard. So if you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe by clicking that red button down below. If it's gray, you are subscribed to see more videos like this. Every Monday, Matt and I put out a garden tour video right now while our garden is in and jamming. And every Tuesday and Thursday, we put out a family vlog video about just kind of our adventures in homesteading and working from home. On Wednesdays, he puts out a bee update because this is his first year beekeeping, and that has been really exciting. And on Fridays, we kind of rotate between videos about laser engraving as well as cooking and just kind of different lifestyle videos. So hope you like this, and glad you got to see me again. Bye, guys.